All right. Pardon the noise. There's a fan going right now. But this is Richard Knight here with Roosterninja Games. And we have here the first fully complete prototype of Slasher. All right, so here we go. Got the back design there. Knock him dead. And we are going to unbox this. All right, so. All right, so we got Slasher. About the box is pretty small. And, let's get a magic card for comparison. Everyone knows how big a magic card is, right? It's about that big. About 2 magic cards tall. All right. All right. Let's check this out. So Slasher, 2 to 4 player card game, ages 13 and up. There's my logo. This was drawn by Thunderryu187. You can find him on Twitter under that handle. I guess it's going to be called X now, but, you know, whatever. Yep, Slasher. So when you open this up, there's a QR code right here, which will lead you to the living rule book. Not much on the back. My great nephew. Alright, let's see here. So, just like these 2 slips of paper that I need to get off. Alright, so we got a bunch of... I don't think they're released in any actual order. Like, Cat Scare. Right, we got the artist. And this is obviously a scare card. They're pretty shiny cards. Dark Harvest. Remove, alright, yeah. Tiger Rose did a lot of art in this game. Remove a civilian graveyard from the game. Gain life equal to that civilian's health +2. Drag to Hell. Thunderryu. Again, that's the Twitter handle of the guy that did the cover art for the game. It's awesome. So these are all the scare cards. You can see the card type. That's a scare card. This is the card art, the title, the rules text. Every card has flavor text because I'm a big fan of that. Some more of my art. Go. So this weapon card, this was drawn by Prismatis, and we can see here that this is one of the only keywords I have in the game right now, which is jump scare, which means this can be revealed during more phases of the game than just the main phase. Now, here we go. We got Death Ray, Eldritch Tentacles, a little bit of a love letter to Darkest Dungeon, Haunted Amulet, Hockey Mask, of course, that looks very familiar. Meat Cleaver, Meat Hook. If you like Goosebumps, then you'll love this one. This is Monster Blood. I'm going to show you some of the civvies in the game. So, this was drawn by one of my students. So, Camp Counselor, when this civilian appears, move all civilians to play with 2 health or fewer to town. All civilians with 2 health or fewer do not scatter. Alright, so that kind of reveals some of the mechanics of the game, that the idea is you have civilians in town and you're trying to get them into your territory. Some civilians are worth 1 gore and some are worth 2. You need 13 total in your scoring area, also called your graveyard, to win. So these are the main part of the game. These are the villains, or the slashers, that you play as. All right, so this here is Luther the Killer Goalie, the first slasher that I designed. He's a simple guy. He has 1 passive ability, which is always on, and then he has Comfort Weapon. Discard a card to draw a weapon. If it deals at least 1 red, brandish it, otherwise discard it. So Luther is just a simple powerhouse, and he's something of a beefcake. Conversely, we have Setsuko. She also has a passive. You'll notice her health is 0. She does not lose the game from having 0 health. She can gain health. There are ways to gain health in this game. You can either discard 2 cards or lose 2 health. If you do, draw a scare card. Scare cards are powerful cards in this game. First off, she doesn't have to worry about one of the lost conditions of this game. So she can freely take damage from civilians. If you gain any health, you can immediately lose it for Undying Grudge and draw a scare. Pretty good. A little love letter to Reanimator. Of course, you'll notice that a lot of the cards in this game are homages to horror films. They're just basic puns and horror tropes. Like, for instance, And the Kitchen Sink, which is all about drawing weapons. Right? So, of course, everything and the kitchen sink, it's right there. And we've got the second deck here. A creepy little girl. Creepy little girl is one of these basic civilians that exists in every color, whether it be blue or red. And the basic thing is they've got a health of 2, they're worth 1 gore, and they go directly to town. Got the Dirty Coward. Remember, you don't have to outrun the monster, just outrun one of your friends. I love that. Eternal Prankster, who's a nightmare doomsayer. The Psychiatrist. If you know who this is based off of, good for you. This is a one-of-a-kind card. This is called the Final Girl. And the Final Girl is, you'll notice, also on the box. That's the Final Girl right there. Right? So, the Final Girl's whole deal, she goes directly to town like other civilians, some other civilians. When she dies, shuffle it back into the civilian deck, draw a scare card. If this civilian deals damage to a villain after surviving the kill phase, that villain is killed instantly. So she changes the way that the entire game is played. I that Ice Cream Man, Kid Next Door, the red version of Creepy Little Girl, The Missing Camera Crew, just a general found footage type card. I think I made that one after watching Cannibal Holocaust. Do not watch that movie. This is a really cool card. I think this was the last civilian printed or designed. When this civilian dies, all other green civvies this round have their health reduced by 1, and he is the single toughest civvy in the game. We've got Adam Stein. He has a passive ability, just like Setsuko and Luther. He cannot harm civilians with a base health of 2 or less. This is to reflect the fact that he doesn't hurt kids, kids won't hurt him. And he can deal damage to target civilian in the kill zone equal to the number of cards in his hand, but he loses life equal to that civilian's base health. So that can help. He has a higher health pool to use as a resource. A couple cards that are interesting. They have another keyword called Bloodlust. Bloodlust means, you'll notice that Mr. Hugs has 2 active abilities, and Bloodlust means he can utilize each of them in a single turn instead of just 1. So it's just a doll. Move all civilians with base health 3 or greater from your kill zone to town. But once you have 7 gore or more, he kind of loses that it's just a doll facade, and he's got playtime. Discard a card to draw a scare card and lose a health. You may play, brandish an additional weapon this turn, just to give him a little bit of extra oomph. He does have a smaller health pool, but his survivability is really good due to his it's just a doll ability. Mad Clockmaker, who also has Bloodlust, and his whole deal is he can move civilians around using traps, and you can remove civilians from the game and then put them back wherever you want. So he's a little tricky to play. Good God, lots of weapons in this game. Caroline, who is a killer car, has some of the highest stats, just in terms of like 3 base damage, 25 health, because she's a car. But you'll notice that, how does a car wield weapons? So that's vroom vroom. Weapons kind of represent how much damage she can do. And she can use some of that health as a resource to draw civilians in town to her kill zone. Rodeo Randy has 2 abilities, which are really good, but he does not have Bloodlust. He has to pick 1. So all civilians in town with base health 2 or less move to your kill zone. And then Howdy Partner. Remove a civilian with base health 2 or less in your graveyard from the game. Your base damage increases by 2 this turn, and your base damage can be split among any number of targets however you choose, which is a pretty heavy cost. And finally, we've got the Thing from Beyond, probably the creepiest villain in the game. Perfect Imposter. If a civilian would deal damage to you, you discard a scare card. You can pretty much redirect damage, but scare card is a very powerful resource. And Consuming Mass, of course. Remove a civilian in your graveyard from the game, increase your base damage by 1, and gain 3 health. So he is a snowball villain. He starts out very weak, ends up very, very strong. And that is the basics of Slasher. Box here. Scares, weapons, civilians, got the final girl on top, and villains. I'm really excited to be playtesting this out. This is the first iteration of this game from Roosterninja Games. That's me. And I can't wait to come back with some gameplay footage. Alright.